Hello everyone, welcome back to Spinning Iris, and this is the second part of this spin tag review, and I will be talking about Larry Niven's The Integral Trees. I misplaced my paperback copy, but happily I found this lovely hardback recently for $1. The artwork is amazing, so I don't mind. I've been aware of Larry Niven for a good portion of my life. His works have been on my dad's bookshelf for many years, amongst Jerry Purnell, Harry Harrison, and I have never read anything by Larry Niven until now. I believe Larry Niven is best known for his novel Ringworld, which means, of course, that Ringworld was not the one that I put on my spin tag TBR. Nope, this is the first one for me. Integral Trees, which is an unconnected follow-up to Ringworld. It is a story about a civilization of humans in the distant future, living on the titular integral trees within a gas torus around a neutron star. If your first response to everything I just said is, what? Then don't worry. Those were my original thoughts when I first read this too. What in the world is a gas torus? Niven was a thoughtful author and provided a glossary and a handful of pages mapping out this particular gas torus and the integral trees themselves. So, it's just a basic idea of what you're looking at, or to help you as a reader envision what this environment is going to look like. And the cover art is actually a fairly decent description of what is described in the novel for the environment of at least one of the trees. And there's also, as I said, a handy glossary in the back pages full of different terms that are used and the various characters that we see and their roles in the story and in their particular groups. But the one thing that isn't in the glossary is the term gas torus. A gas torus, again, to be extremely basic, is a gaseous, rotating, donut-shaped cloud. All the life in this particular gas torus is in an internal smoke ring. Animal, insect, fungus, and most importantly, the integral trees. And everything resides in this sort of free fall, and there is no ground, so no up or down, just in or out. And there is water that floats around in these giant globs called ponds. And the story itself takes place about 500 years after a group of human astronauts and corpuscles from an interstellar ramship colonize this particular smoke ring. It's a cedar ramship, so basically the idea is to take these groups of humans and seed a new world. It's just vague enough in the book to get the basic idea of what this group is originally supposed to be doing. Physically, the humans in the story have evolved to a certain point where they can easily live inside of this environment. They're physically taller, their limbs are longer, they have prehensile toes. But there are still some of the more normal-sized humans, and they get called dwarves. And they're the ones who can still wear whatever star stuff, or spacesuits as they are, left over from their astronaut ancestors. And all the technology that has survived is coveted and kept by a very select few. The select few are called scientists, and they have access to these mini computers that contain knowledge about life in the gas torus, some history about the crew, some medical information, and they are also sort of record keepers. And these scientists have apprentices that are called the grad. And these evolved humans are divided into different distinct tribes on different trees, or in one case, on different ends of trees. And the whole novel is a very interesting study of society, how it evolves or devolves and then evolves again. For the main tribe, we follow the Quinn tribe. There is a chairman who governs, there's a scientist and his grad, there are hunters, there are cookers, and there are those that feed the tree. In the neighboring Dalton Quinn tribe, there's a triune squad made entirely of women. The triune squad is sort of a cross between hunter and warrior guards, and basically they are women who have volunteered not to take part in population building. There was one exception that I wasn't expecting. It was a character named Smita, who is only in the story briefly. I know. What would I be without the triune squad? A woman born as a man who wants to be a woman. And as I said, they are there briefly, but that one character sort of adds to the social world building that's going on. Quinn tribe is going through hard times, drought, food shortage, and something only the scientist has knowledge of or is able to realize. Something very wrong with the tree. A small group is put together by the chairman to go on a scavenging hunt. A group of individuals deemed of no use to the community or too dangerous to keep around the community. These include Gavin, who's a young warrior subject to allergies, as he's described in the glossary. He's also one who sort of asks a lot of dangerous questions. He's also a witness to the chairman's son getting killed while hunting. Have the grad, the scientist's apprentice, who's sort of there to share the knowledge of what they might find on the tree. There's an older man who tended the tree mouth, a tree feeder, in a way sort of like a garbage man. A strong woman who is barren and has small withered legs, so she doesn't have the ability to walk very well or climb very well using her legs. Jayan and Jenny. And there are two others as well. I think one was a very accident-prone woman who, lost a lot of their food resources and I think nearly set the tree on fire. And another man. They both don't get very far in the novel. And they pick up another member to their little group, a member of Dalton Quinn tribe named Minya, part of the Triune Squad, a badass hunter, and they eventually find their way to a jungle, sort of a clump of integral trees, I think, or it's just a very fluffy single tree. The jungle itself is not as deeply described. Probably looks a lot like this, just very green. And once they get to the tree, two are left behind for dead. The rest are taken captive by members of London Tree, who also take some people from the jungle tribe. And the London Tree has use of a sort of transportation device called a CARM, a cargo and repair module is what that stands for. Still operating after 500 years. And operated by Copsic runners. Now, Copsic runners are basically the name used for slave runners. In the society presented on London Tree, there are citizens and there are slaves. And this sort of relationship kind of goes back to the original founders of the integral trees, the original people who settled in the smoke ring. Some were citizens of the state, the rest were corpuscles. It was still very vague as to what those actually were, so I'm guessing sort of like prisoners that were sort of kept frozen to, I guess, eventually rehabilitate to be useful citizens. So, given the fact that there is slavery going on in this little society, you can imagine what the 4 women taken captive have to go through. Eventually Quinn tribe is reunited with a few others and end up on a wild ride and into the outer, guess, outer atmosphere of this smoke ring. Atmosphere I don't think is quite the right word. And they sort of meet the AI that brought their ancestors to the gas Taurus that is still residing on the ship that brought them. And then they make their way back into the smoke ring and begin to rebuild their lives on a new tree and forming their own new tribe. That's the basic story. For a short novel, there is a lot going on, with some questions answered and others left vague, some just not answered. And for all the hardship the characters go through, there's definitely some heart behind it. The POV is spread between 5 or 6 characters, I think, but it is clear who the focus is on in every scene. And there's something to be said about really old sci-fi and seeing how it reflects aspects of the time it's being written. Everything from progressive ideas to social fears, and seeing how much things have changed and how close some things are to potentially happening. And of course some things that are still the same. I'm glad I added this to my TBR. Niven's style of writing, at least in this novel, is clear, it's easy to follow. For the most part, the technobabble is kept to a minimum, and the technobabble that is there is explained and in context does make sense. About the only thing I wish there was done different or was a little more of was with the AI Charles Davis Kendi, and how its purpose is, its place in the grand scheme of things. I just kind of wish it was explained a little bit better. It was a good read, and I do recommend it, especially if you're a sci-fi fan or are curious about slightly older sci-fi. That's all for now. If you've read anything by Larry Niven, feel free to suggest anything that would be worth reading next. I might even add Ring World to next year's TBR. Who knows? Take care. Bye.